It's the showdown of the century, the Royal Rumble of the food world, classic corned beef versus good ol' Spam. But what are the actual differences between these two tin titans? The main difference between Spam and canned corned beef is the type of meat that is in the can. The name of canned corned beef is pretty clear about the main ingredient, of course. It's made of beef. Spam is slightly less obvious, although the fact that its name rhymes with ham is a bit of a giveaway. This second product contains pork, mostly. You might assume that Spam and corned beef are highly processed with tons of preservatives and additives, but they're actually much simpler than many other products on grocery store shelves. In fact, both have fewer than 10 ingredients. Libby's canned corned beef ingredients label lists only water, sugar, salt, and sodium nitrite after beef. Spam has a similar ingredient list, swapping out beef with pork and the extra addition of potato starch. Compare that to Oscar Mayer hot dogs, for example, which list 13 ingredients including mechanically separated chicken and turkey, along with several additives. Both Spam and corned beef look pretty good in comparison. Sodium nitrite is the sole additive found in Spam and canned corned beef, and it's also present in most other cured meats. There have been some health concerns surrounding this preservative, since some research links it to an increased risk of cardiovascular disease. That said, eating excessive amounts of any animal protein may cause heart disease and high blood pressure.
Oh, this is a big one. You hear that, Elizabeth? I'm coming to join you, honey.
If you're worried, just avoid eating too much of it. Put simply, Spam is cheaper than canned corned beef.
Spam. It's a lot of meats, but not a lot of money.
The fact that pork is usually cheaper than beef helps explain the difference in price. Meat prices depend on the amount of feed animals need over their lifetime up until slaughter. Producers raise pigs only 5 or 6 months, while most cattle live between 12 and 22 months. That makes cows far more costly to raise and farm. Interestingly, the per-pound prices of fresh meat versus canned meat are actually pretty similar. That might make Spam look like a bad deal. It costs about the same as pork chops, but has worse taste and texture. But that's not quite the case. During the canning process, manufacturers cook the meat, meaning that the weight on the label is the exact amount the consumer can eat. But if you buy fresh meat and cook it, it loses some of its weight and size. For example, 1 pound of raw ground beef reduces to 3/4 of a pound when cooked. That means cans tend to enjoy a better price-quantity value. Obviously, though, that's not to say the same is true when it comes to quality. Search for canned meat on any major grocery store website, and you'll probably find several flavors of Spam versus a much smaller selection of corned beef. Hormel's website lists 12 types of Spam, including classic, teriyaki, jalapeno, and maple. Redditors seem to hold a number of opinions about which is best. Many recommended the classic, low-sodium, bacon, or teriyaki flavors. Korean barbecue seems to be an exception, with customers rating it around 3.5 stars on Hormel's website. The biggest complaints concern the unauthentic Korean spices and an unpleasant flavor combination. If you head to the canned goods aisle for corned beef, you're going to have the choice of about 3 flavor options: classic, a low-sodium version, and canned corned beef hash. You'll still have a wide range of brands to pick from, though, since so many companies make canned corned beef. That creates a wider market with more variation in quality and price than is available for Spam. Libby's may be the biggest name in the corned beef game, but Goya, Iberia, Ox and Palm, Armour, and even Hormel all pack and sell it too. The textures of Spam and canned corned beef are undeniably different. Spam comes out of the can in a unified block. It's squishy, spongy, and easy to cut into slices. Canned corned beef, on the other hand, is drier and stringier. You can easily identify individual meat fibers too. Whereas Spam is homogeneous, canned corned beef seems more heterogeneous. It doesn't always come out of the can in a whole block and isn't as easy to cut into slices.
Spam. Don't knock it till you've fried it.
The difference in texture between the two canned meats has to do with the difference in ingredients, as well as the canning and cooking process. To make Spam, machines grind pork and mix it with salt and potato starch. Cans are filled with this meat paste before being sealed and cooked in a pressure cooker.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
The potato starch is likely the ingredient that gives Spam its uniform, solid texture. Canned corned beef plants use a similar, but not quite identical process. Raw beef is cut, cubed, or shredded, but never ground into a paste. Starch isn't added either, giving the final product a looser texture. Like Spam, though, corned beef is most often cooked after the can is packed. Cans of corned beef and Spam have interesting shapes, nothing like the cylinders used for other types of canned food. Factories usually pack corned beef into rectangular cans, larger at the base than the top with a key attached. Spam, meanwhile, comes in an untapered, oblong receptacle with rounded corners. The resulting shape is somewhere between an oval and a rectangle and has a pull ring for easy opening. It's been a long road to get to this point. The history of canned meats began when innovator Nicolas Appert of France first packed meat into heavy glass and ceramic containers. It was the early 1800s, and Appert won a cash prize for his idea from none other than Napoleon Bonaparte.
Oh, sacre bleu!
The French emperor needed a more reliable way to feed soldiers, and canned meat seemed promising. After this, English inventor Peter Durand proposed using metal cylinders instead. Others improved upon Appert and Durand's ideas over the next century. In the 1870s, manufacturers such as Arthur A. Libby and William J. Wilson began placing preserved meat into rectangular cans. They may have thought it would be easier to remove the product and then slice evenly. Interestingly, Wilson wanted to patent this model, but the commissioner at the time refused, citing that the St. Louis Beef Canning Company and Robert D. Hunter already used this type of can. 50 years later, George A. Hormel put ham in a can. He imitated earlier canners, choosing to use a rectangular design. Nicolas Appert invented canned meat to feed soldiers and sailors when fresh food was unavailable. More than a century later, World War II put millions of soldiers from around 70 countries in that same situation. Governments used these preserved products to sustain militaries far from home. Britain fed soldiers mainly canned corned beef and hardtack, and men on the front lines created their own recipes to make the dry, stringy canned meat more palatable. Stew with ground hardtack crumbs, corned beef, and the occasional vegetable was preferable to eating the stuff cold from the can. The United States, on the other hand, provided its men with both Spam and Hormel's infamous K rations, which consisted of canned ham with vegetables and eggs. The company had just put Spam on the market in 1937, which turned out to be something of a lucky strike due to the coming war. By 1944, the U.S. government was purchasing 90% of the company's products to feed its troops. In total, Hormel shipped around 133 million cans overseas to feed U.S. soldiers, Allied forces, and civilians. But while Spam tasted better cold than canned corned beef did, the troops still didn't love it. Hormel's website makes no secret of the fact, sharing this quote from Dwight Eisenhower. "I ate my share of Spam along with millions of soldiers. I'll even confess to a few unkind remarks about it. As former commander-in-chief, I officially forgive you your only sin, sending us so much of it." Your preference of canned meat likely depends on where you live. If you're from Puerto Rico or Samoa, your family probably has several well-loved corned beef recipes, such as hash or stew. If you're from Korea or Hawaii, you probably eat Spam and musubi, sandwiches, or army-based stew. Filipinos eat corned beef for breakfast as corn salog and Spam in Spam salog. History and geography forced these regions to develop a taste for canned protein. The British Navy likely introduced canned corned beef to the Caribbean in the 1800s while combating the slave trade. Meanwhile, South Korea began its love affair with Spam because of the American soldiers who were stationed there, as many traded rations for services from locals. Islands such as Samoa and Hawaii hosted military bases and had limited access to fresh meat, so these products quickly became popular.
People have an emotional attachment to Spam because we all grew up with Spam.
For obvious reasons, areas with cattle and abundant fresh meat have remained generally uninterested by Spam and corned beef. Fray Bentos, Uruguay is one example. You won't find canned meat easily in the grocery stores there. Ironically, though, one of the largest corned beef canning factories in the world opened in Fray Bentos in 1863. In the years after, the town revolutionized the canned meat industry. Despite that, the locals have so much access to fresh beef that canned corned beef simply isn't eaten as a regular part of their diet. 100 years ago, the word Spam was meaningless. Ever since the product came out in 1937, however, people have wanted to know what it means.
What do you think Spam stands for?
Super protein ambivalent meat.
Hormel plays up to the mystery surrounding the brand name too. Its official website reads, "The real answer is known by only a small circle of former Hormel Foods executives, and probably Nostradamus." According to Time magazine, though, the name Spam combines spiced and ham. Although less appealing, canned corned beef's name also provokes a number of questions. For example, if there's no corn in it, why is it corned? Well, the term refers to the kernel-sized salt used to preserve meat, rather than the yellow vegetable. Alternatively, British and Australian soldiers called this food bully beef. The term is likely an anglicization of the French bouillie, meaning to boil. The French invented canned food specifically to feed the military and boiled it to keep it unspoiled, so it makes sense that the British military would adopt the foreign term for the food. If you've only been eating sliced Spam sandwiches or mixing cubes into your macaroni and cheese, you'll be pleased to find that there are endless recipes for the stuff, and they come from all around the world.
Don't make a fuss, dear. I'll have your Spam. I love it. I'm having Spam.
Take, for example, Spam musubi. This Hawaiian dish places a slice of Spam on a rectangle of rice before wrapping it all in a strip of nori. It's mostly reminiscent of sushi, but without using raw fish. If you're craving Korean flavors, try a recipe for kimchi fried rice with Spam. This is the perfect thing to whip up if you're short on time and have some leftover cooked white rice in the refrigerator. Sauté the 3 main ingredients with pepper flakes, then add soy sauce for flavor. After that, scramble in some eggs. This recipe only takes about 15 minutes, and it's incredibly flavorful and filling, to boot. Put the best canned corned beef in the right recipe and it'll taste downright delicious. And there's so much more you can do with this ingredient than serve it with cabbage or throw it in a Reuben sandwich. Corned beef hash is one of the most popular recipes to make with corned beef. Make some small cubes of fried potato and then mix in the tinned meat. Cook a while longer and add a fried egg on top. This satisfying breakfast is easy and quick to make, and it uses shelf-stable ingredients that you probably already have in your pantry. Stew is another dish people make with canned corned beef. Every region has its style, and every family has their own recipe. Some typical ingredients people might add are onions, garlic, potato, carrots, and stock. Using canned meat is faster and easier than making stew with fresh-cut stew meat that sometimes needs to simmer for hours to get tender. You may also want to try canned corned beef in dishes such as Jamaican bully beef, Puerto Rican alcapurrias, and Filipino corn salog.